We good to go, you guys.
Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to Herman J. Russell West End Academy's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Herman J. Russell West End Academy Go Team to order. Our first order of business is to call roll and review our norms. The secretary will take roll now.
Lysandra Clark Wilkins. Monique Lewis. Joyce Lewis.
Present.
Marshall Everett.
Present.
I'm Samantha Porter, present. Victoria Robinson.
Present.
Eric White.
Present.
Maury Russell. She's absent. And Patrice Jordan.
Present.
The roll has been called.
This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Mrs. Porter, is there a quorum present?
Yes, there's a quorum present.
There is a quorum present. Let's proceed to the action items on the agenda. One moment. My apologies. The first action item is the approval of the agenda that has been emailed to you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as emailed?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted to us.
Second.
Next, approval of and so we have a first and a second, Mrs. Porter. I apologize.
Yes.
Next would be the approval of the previous minutes emailed to you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes. I move. So move. I move.
I second.
So we had a motion and it was properly approved, first and seconded, for the approval of the previous minutes emailed to you. Next, we will have the next action item is to approve the budget after the presentation and review and discussion. We will now move on to the discussion item. Discussion item 1, the presentation of the final budget that will be presented to us by our principal, Mrs. Green.
All right, hello everyone. As Ms. Robinson has stated, this is our presentation on the final approval of the budget that was submitted to you all in our last meeting. So I will go through our norms. Again, these are the same norms that we've seen before. This is the Go Team meeting and only members of this team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. We invite and welcome contributions of every member and listen to each other. We will follow the agenda as noticed to the public and stay on task. And lastly, we will respect all ideas and assume good intentions. This is, again, our agenda for today. And once with our principals report, this is actually going to be a part of the presentation of the final budget. It's listed in the back of this, Ms. Robinson. So just note that it'll be in the same presentation. So again, we are at the final step. We are at step 7. We've gone through all steps with you all's assistance, ensuring that our budget met the needs of our students and our school. And at this time, I will go ahead and introduce that to you. So again, the purpose of this one is to review the budget again, which should be updated based on any feedback from the staffing conference, associate superintendents, and key leaders. Why are we doing this? To present this final budget for any recommendations with you all's approval. And all of this must happen before March 17th. So you all, we met the deadline. We barely met it, but we are here. And I can let you know all ahead of time that all staffing conference feedback from associates, everything came back cleared. They approved of everything that we presented to them because they felt like it was in the best interest of our children. So the budget review, again, a lot of this is stuff that you all have seen before. Everything is the exact same. It's just to get you all's final approval. We talked about the rationale for each priority. All of this is the exact same as last meeting. All of our rationales, again, are centered around children and what's best for students. And again, I won't read this to you, but this is, again, the rationale that we spoke about last time. And all of these priorities are ones that we selected as a team, which were the same ones. I think we switched maybe 1 or 2 from last year that were listed, but these are all the same from our last meeting. And lastly, these are the last ones, the last 3 rationales for our school priorities. Again, centered all around our students. And this was the breakdown. This is what we talked about last time as well. How did this relate to the APS 5? As you know, that is our focus and our reason behind everything that we're doing. It's centered around students and also ensuring that our priorities that we came up with align to the APS 5. And this is just giving a breakdown of how our monies were spent. And as you can see, with the changes that were made, there were no money spent, which is a good thing. We were not out of compliance with any of our funds. The only thing that was considered funding was the decision to hire a business manager that would help give us more funds, right? And give us more opportunities to have more partnerships where it'll increase our community engagement, someone that can help with family outreach, build relationships with our current and future partners, and ensuring that all things, all funding, all partnerships, all mentoring is centered around increasing our student outcomes. And again, what I said at the beginning, there were no changes made to our draft budget that we discussed at our last meeting. And it's a great thing that all of the changes and discussions that we made, which took a lot of time and, a lot of strategic thinking to ensure that all funds were placed in the best interest of our children. As you can see, there was no change in any funds, $0, 0 extra dollars were spent to do what we needed to do for our kids. So at this time, the GO team needs to take action, which means to vote on the budget. This is, again, is the same budget that we discussed last time. And after the motion and a second, the GO team may have additional discussion. Once discussion is concluded, the GO team will vote. So at this time, if there are any questions, any additional discussion that needs to be made based upon around the decisions that were made about our funds that were spent, anything that you all have to add, this is the time to do that. And then you all will take a vote on approving the final approval of our budget. So if there isn't any discussion, I think we need to go ahead and take our vote. Ms. Robinson, if you could do that and get a first and second motion for that.
I move to take action on our vote to accept the approval of the budget. If there is no discussion, I first move to accept the budget as discussed previously. I made the motion and I would need a second if you guys agree.
I second.
I second.
It has been moved first and properly second to accept the budget.
All right. Thank you, team, for your support and especially for helping us to make sure that our priorities and strategies align with the needs of our students. That, as you know, is number one goal, is to ensure that this budget is directly aligned to what's going to increase student achievement. So I really appreciate you all support with that. At this time, if you would like, Robinson, according to the agenda, I can go into the review of the BASC because that was next for the principal's report. If that's all right. So with this assessment is something that was taken, that our students take. And I just want to make sure that you all understand the outcomes of what that BASC report has, because it's definitely informs some of our decisions, and it informs how we culturally make decisions and understanding who we serve. Because as you know, our students are our customers, our families are our customers, and we have to serve them the best way that we possibly can. And so with this report, I want to go through each section very quickly with you, just to give you a high level overview of what the outcomes were. And so this assessment is used for us to understand the behaviors and emotions of the children that we serve. The assessment can be used to identify any problem behaviors, and it also helps us develop individualized behavioral plans for our students. So first, I'll go over the first assessment data. It's behavioral and emotional risk. And so what that means, and if you take a look at the data, so you see where it says student, and then extremely elevated is in red, yellow is elevated, and green is normal. So 73% of our students are what they consider normal, right? And that means that they are not at a high risk for behavior and emotional risk. And if you take a look, the teacher and school official, what that means is the teachers also took this, and this is what they believe, 61%. We're normal at 24%, extremely elevated, and 15% were elevated. And so with these, with the data, this allows us to break down by student, and we're able to see that which students are categorized or feel this way, so we can provide some support to them to ensure that they are more getting in the green than in the red and the yellow. So again, this is over a summary of the behavioral and emotional risk. And so there are different types of parts and domains of this assessment. The adaptive skills, what this means, this assess their skills around their core characteristics of adaptive behaviors that are important for function at home and school and with the peers of the community. So that means communication, social skills, leadership, and study skills. And so as you can see, this was what normal risk is, what 55% is what is where we are with that with our students, and 30% elevated risk and extremely elevated risk, that's 15%. And so as I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, that it is 113 students that took this assessment for this portion. We have in externalizing risk. So that means it assesses the skills that contribute to disruptive behavior, such as hyperactivity, aggression, and conduct problems. And so those are our students that we would consider having behavioral plans for, and as the students that you would consider having issues with conduct in the classroom. And that means these are the behaviors that we actually can see. Right. These are things that happen on the external things that we see in class. And so 65% of those students are normal, 24% are extremely elevated, and 12% are an actual elevated risk. So what this means also for us as a school is that we need to take a look, right? Take a look at those students that are in the red and see which students are falling into these categories and provide some support. All this is an extra level of support that we can give to our students, and also us knowing who these students are will help us meet our goals, help them meet their goals. So imagine the students that are falling in this category and may not be getting any support, right? That means that that's something for us as a school to make sure that we are identifying this. And our school is doing a great job with that. Many of these students that fall in these categories have mentors, they're on caseloads, but as a leader and as a team, I want to make sure that you all are aware that we are definitely taking the steps to identify who these students are and provide them with some support, because we do not want this to be, we don't want to be in a predicament where we don't know who these kids are and they've gone a whole year without any support. So I believe this assessment is definitely helpful to us. And internalizing risk. This is a big one for us. And I'm glad to see more green, because these risks are, this was assessing those internalized behaviors. Those are things that we don't necessarily see. And you don't know if these students have anxiety or depression and feeling inadequate in school. And so when 349 students took this assessment, and only 11% of them felt like they felt that way and had those, those troubles and internalizing behaviors. But I still need to know and want to know who those 11% are. We want to help all. We need 100% in the green. And personal adjustment risk. This assess those skills that associate with things that happen at home, right? How they deal with their parents, self-esteem issues, how do they have relationships, good relationships with others. And again, is very small number that are extremely relevant. So that means they feel good at home, right? Some things are feeling good. They have a good relationship with their parents, have a good relationship with adjusting. And so I want you to think about the middle school child. It's already difficult. And as we like to say, sometimes they become a little socially awkward because they're new to school, right? They're new to the middle school world. And so it's good to see that they they feel good, right? They feel good and have great self-esteem. All right, and self-regulation. So that's being able to adjust and regulate their own behaviors. This assesses their self-control, being able to self-regulate behavior. That means when they're redirected, they're able to, get it together and pull it together. And those behaviors that are noticeable in a school settings that may be considered disruptive. And that's the overview of the BASC assessment. And at this time, I just want to briefly go through the ACEs. So remember, if you all don't remember, I went through the fall ACEs with you all, what was presented. And this spring ACEs took place about a month ago, or not even, maybe it wasn't even that long ago, Ms. Robinson, but it was to take a look at where we started and where we are now, and to give a look at where we're going. So they asked what were some great things and glows that have happened at our school. First of all, we only had 2 vacancies, and I think we started out with a little bit more than that at the beginning of the year. And also a glow was that National STEM Honor Society students, they won first place in the tech fair. We have some STEAM clubs that are experiencing hands-on experiences, and there have been some PBL field trip experiences to the Chocolate Warehouse. Now, let me tell you all, I had so much stuff to put in this glow category, and I was told to limit it to 2 to 3. So that's a good thing, right? To have so many things to share that are happening at our school, and it's very hard to narrow down. And we were told to make sure that those glows were surrounded around our signature program. We have some amazing things happening. So that was hard. Our grow was more training for teachers on how STEAM should be aligned to the content and not taught in isolation. We did something called empathy interviews a couple weeks back, and that was just random interviews that were taken from people on our staff, students in our building, and what came about those interviews, that everyone seemed collectively looked at STEAM as something else to do. It was looked at as it should be a separate class, but what STEAM really is, it's a way of learning. And we need everyone in our building to understand that it's not done in isolation. It's not something that is just building rockets and robots. It is more than that. And so training has to continue on how STEAM is aligned to their content, to where they don't feel overwhelmed, and if it's something else to do. Attendance. So we increased in our attendance. We went down slightly in attendance take rate, and we're not, the chronically absent was something that was a big thing for us. So last year, and that means 2021, students that were not chronically absent it was 43%. So our goal is to go up by 3%. As of today, it says 45 here, but as of today, we are at 65%. So that means we've taken a 20%. We're doing well, right? So if it was only 3% and we have exceeded that, tremendously, then we are headed in the right direction. Behavior-wise, suspension rate, the goal is to stay under 1.5. And we have done that. If you can see what it says in the fall, it was 1.51 for females, and now it's down to 1.16, and so on. So the goal again is to stay under 1.5. And as you can see, we're doing that. And this, I won't read all of this. This was just some updates on curriculum and instruction by content. And I'll just highlight a couple of things that we are making progress towards our action steps from our CIP. Those are the strategies that we came up with as a team. So just a couple of updates that we're on our way. Adjustments are being made to the grading practices. We did a PLC or a PD in a faculty meeting on how grading practices matter, and that we have to remove emotions from grading and actually grade for standards-based mastery. Our whole child support, big brothers, big sisters have extremely helped us with our attendance. I can't say enough about how much they have made an impact on the 7th grade attendance, that I'm looking forward to them next year going into other grade levels to assist, so it can be a school-wide support system. And family engagement, there have been multiple ways of communication from home to school. Parent Liaison has hosted a few events on Bulldog Parent University, and we had an amazing transition program celebration with our future Bulldogs that we are looking forward to for coming next year. So our 5th graders came over and visited the middle school and as a day in the life of a 6th grader. So those are some updates that we have for curriculum and instruction. And that was it for my ACES presentation. They just wanted to give a brief overview of how we were making progress toward our goals. And if you all don't have any questions about that, we can move on to our next section, Ms. Robinson.
Now, we are moving on to the announcement portion of the meeting. Are there any announcements for the good of the group, for Herman J. Russell, West End Academy? No announcements at this time?
Yes, I have an announcement. I have one, Ms. Robinson. There is a parent violence empowerment summit that is coming up on the 25th of March that will be held at Mays. Please take a look at our Twitter account for the updates for that, the flyer that has been posted. We are encouraging everyone to come. As you all know, we are experiencing violence in our community, and too much of it is affecting our students. And so our district is taking initiatives for getting our parents involved. I know we did some summits. The district has done some summits with students, with staff members, but we are now trying to include our parents and making sure they understand how that this situation affects more than just us, right, at the school level. And so we need our parents to participate and show up as well. So if you all could spread the word about that summit, and that would be very helpful. The date, I'm not sure of the time. Mr. Williams has it posted on our Twitter account again, and you can see it also on Atlanta Public Schools account. So please just know the date is March 25th. That's a Saturday. And encourage all parents, all of your community members, everyone that you know, to please show up for that event.
It is also posted on our Instagram page.
Okay, it's on our Instagram as well. So we are encouraging everyone to attend, and encourage parents and families of our students to attend. And that's the only announcement that I have.
Okay. If there are no other announcements, any public comment? Any public comment? We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time?
This is our last meeting. So this is our last meeting, guys. So I want to thank you all for all of your input and support this year. This has been quite a learning experience for all, and I definitely appreciate the impact and the feedback and suggestions that you all have given, and especially as we created our priorities, because we use that as our blueprint. So it's very important that we have your feedback and input as we create those steps, because that is what we use. It's our lesson plan, our unit plan for the year. So I'm sad and happy to get to this portion, because that means that we have come to a point where budgets have been approved, and we're in a place where now we can begin to prepare for next year. So that's good stuff. I appreciate everyone's input, and thank you all for joining, being so dedicated every meeting that we've had. I thank you.
And congratulations to everybody that, participated in helping meet these goals. It's real good to see progress as well. So kudos to everybody on the call.
Thank you, Mr. White. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. White. Well, may I have a motion? So that this time I'm making a motion to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting in a second?
So moved that the meeting be adjourned.
I second.
It has been moved and properly second. All in favor, I apologize, by saying A or raising your hand. All opposed by saying nay or raise your hand. So the motion has been made and properly second to adjourn the meeting at 5:28 p.m. on March 16th.